Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out, and a special thanks to my Patreon and channel members. This video is sponsored by myself. I just opened up a Patreon for those of you that want individual chapters for manhwas, or shorter daily uploads that aren't enough for full-length parts on the channel. Link will be in the description, and pinned comment. Sorry for the interruption. The series starts with a man talking about how war, famine, and climate change are problems that will go away, as from this moment forward he, and the rest of his kind will cease the centuries of indifference, and step in to help them all. We see him doing some kind of global broadcast, as he tells them all that he's speaking for every single mage. This is the Grand Mage Jeong Ui Hyuk. Right around the time that humanity's self-inflicted problems were driving civilization straight towards collapse, the mages ended up revealing themselves. As we see Ui Hyuk saving a little boy, we learn how the problems everyone thought were impossible to solve vanish like magic. Rather, it's because they were solved by actual magic to begin with. The world, after having been saved by magic, went into an unprecedented golden age. Grand Mage Ui Hyuk led the mages to save the world, and share magic with it, becoming the greatest, most honored, and most beloved person on earth. And yet, he says there are still way too many problems in the world that need magic, and he can't solve them all on his own, so he needs someone more righteous and wise to carry out his will. He looks down at the boy he saved, saying that he needs his help, as he, the greatest Grand Mage, will make him the second greatest Grand Mage, and when that time comes, he needs him to help promise him. The little boy's name is Eugen. Eugen smiles, saying, of course, making a promise with his master. We get a time skip of 26 years later, and we hear a woman's voice in pain, begging out for help. She's crying, saying that she needs to be spared if something's wrong. She can't move her leg, and her senses feel off. She doesn't want to die yet. A disfigured hand grabs the top of her head as she begs, and pleads to be spared. He watches her get turned into human spaghetti right in front of his very eyes. He says that he can't believe that shit actually exists. He thought it was just some childish urban legend, wandering around hunting down any mage they see with gruesomely bizarre magic. The one, and only stain on the Grand Mage's record, his discarded disciple Eugen. Damn bro is scary. The mage falls to the ground, yelling not to get closer, saying that they could talk this out. Eugen slowly creeps up as he shoots out an attack, saying that he told him not to move. The attack lands as the mage starts to run. The man says he thought he could believe anything that happened in the world, since magic exists after all. As he says this, we see Eugen warped from the attack, but still stretches his hands out, and the man says that this is nothing more than a hideous abomination that definitely can't be labeled as magic. Eventually all the screaming stops as we see people in a workshop down below. They wonder if they're really being rescued, and the door opens. They get excited, saying that this means they truly are being saved, and that their slave life is finally over. What they see is Eugen sticking his head into the door, saying, "Ah, found you." Sometime later outside we see police, and medics all on the scene. A man's explaining to the detective in charge that they've all been driven into extreme shock from long-term isolation in a confined space, but no life-threatening injuries among the kidnapping victims. More importantly, he just can't get used to all the people who have been turned into liquid spaghetti, and there's only one mage they know who could do something like that. We then hear Eugen calling out to the detective, who we learned his name Kim Sung-hae. She says that she knows the truth as they're not in shock from being confined. As Eugen walks over, he says they meet again, and he thanks her for her hard work while waving at her. Sung-hae says that she definitely feels like there's more to their PTSD. He asks how the kidnapping victims are, and she tells him that they're all fine as there's no life-threatening issues. Eugen sighs, saying that is a complete relief. The second the door opened, they were foaming up the mouth, and screaming. It was complete chaos. He thought that they'd been tortured, so he called the police first, just in case it was too late. He then holds up one of his human centipede amalgamations, saying that these mages kidnapped homeless folks, and runaway teens, then locked them up, and forced them to process magic ingredients, and mages that do stuff that awful should repent for it. We see the man screaming from earlier, saying that it's all their fault, begging that he lift the spell. Eugen tells him that if they sleep it off they'll be back to normal to reflect on it, as he warps them into a ball, like they weren't there to begin with. Sung-hae looks horrified, explaining how from his appearance to the magic he uses, everything about him is super creepy and suspicious, but he's overly friendly and nosy to an uncomfortable degree. He's helped them out multiple times, yet never asked for payment. She's sorry that she always judges him based on his looks. She thanks him for helping while bowing to him. He puts his hand on her shoulder, telling her that there's no need to bow. It's only right for a mage to resolve a problem caused by a mage, and she can call anytime she needs help. She says the problem is his visuals are too much to put judgment off. Eugen says he's heard rumors of a serial killer roaming the country. People are really scared, so he's been tracking it in his spare time. They say it has an unbelievably gruesome face, and butchers people beyond recognition, so they have to stop it before more innocent victims pile up. So if she finds any leads to let him know ASAP. She doesn't know if she should tell him or not that he's the one from the rumors. Eugen looks at his phone, saying that times flew by already. What the hell wrong with his pinky? Sung-hae says her energy is being drained right now, asking if he has a schedule. He tells her that it's about time he starts something he's been prepping for a while. He's got to give one to her too. He reaches into his coat, and pulls out a little flyer, telling her to please spread the word around. The cops talk to a little ball of human, telling them that they have the right to a lawyer, and then sighs wondering what the hell he's doing with his life. Eugen waves to Sung-hae, saying that he'll be off then, and she tells him to take care going back. Then looks down at the flyer, surprised, asking if he really doesn't understand his own predicament, wondering if he's really planning on doing this. 30 years after the founding declaration of the mage faction led by Ui Hyuk, magic became an indispensable part of every industry, from food, clothing, and so on. But mages are still in short supply. We see a man on TV telling everybody they need their help. Through systematic training and expertise they can draw out their magical talents. So if they become mages, and brighten the world they can help reshape it. And that he, Choi, Yi-sok, along with the other authorities at the Prime Mage Academy await them. Turns out the flyer Eugen was spreading around was for his own mage academy called Eugen's Magic Academy. He says that he teaches a wide range of practical magic for exams, jobs, and startups, at affordable prices with personalized care. He smiles super wholesomely, saying that he thought about it a lot, even if he can't be with his master, to keep the promise he made with him. He thought about how to resolve it, as there are still too many problems that need magic, but too many people learn it for extortion, and hurting others instead of making the world better. Just smashing those situations as he saw them was a stopgap that didn't solve the root issues anyways. He sat there debating what it could be, as he has to do this as Ui Hyuk's disciple. It needs to be something to contribute to the world with the biggest possible impact. While sitting at a park he overheard a woman telling her students to follow, and he looked at how wholesome and happy they were. Then the teacher spotted Eugen, and instantly blocked their vision, telling them to not look around at the cryptid, and keep walking forward. Eugen used this as inspiration. The way to increase mages with wisdom, and build up their righteous characters allowing them to devote themselves to the world was simple. As he hands a flyer to a woman horrified, crying while holding her child, he asks if her kid dreams of becoming a mage, and that learning magic in adolescence boosts creativity and focus, along with emotional growth and character development. As his goal is to raise them himself, she runs off as he continues talking about the classes, and she screams sorry. He says of course decisions about their children need care. He doesn't even think she's put off by his appearance. More importantly, he hasn't handed out a single flyer, and nobody's coming his way. Everyone's been so busy walking fast away from him that it's hard to approach. He needs a way to grab people's attention. He spots a wacky inflatable arm man saying that he's got it. Nearby spectators wonder what that weird growling sound is, and when they turn they spot Eugen getting longer, and begin screaming. Eugen says that he has to get bigger, and longer so he can hand out tons of flyers. As he starts spewing tentacles from his back he says this is perfect. He then decides to add a little decoration onto his flyers, and people watch stricken with fear, as he turns into an eldritch horror saying that he's going to teach them magic. They can become great mages, and contribute to the world together. As he goes to hand out the flyers we see he put magic to make them talk, and it looks absolutely terrifying. He wonders why it took him so long to think of this. Flashy attention-grabbing entertainment is just marketing basics. He starts to laugh, and he says that he remembers seeing a tall clown at an amusement park when he was with Ui Hyuk as a child, and that is a core memory that stuck with him. So making memories like that for others is the best option for him right now. He then hears somebody yelling that's him, the one who's been murdering both mages and non-mages indiscriminately, the psycho serial killer cannibal mage. Eugen wonders if he's really here in the middle of the street before he gets hit with an attack, and they say his name instead. As he begins to fall straight forward onto a bystander he sweeps him out of the way allowing him to escape the fall. We hear the man from TV, Yi-sok, saying he heard a commotion by the academy, so he came to check. This must be the killer monster that's been rumored. He can't believe it's right in front of his academy of all places, as this isn't a place for filth like him. The bystanders say that now that a veteran combat mage is on the scene it's going to be perfect. Speaking of perfect, Yi-Sok says this is the best time for promo. He should have made it last longer though, as he didn't expect a basic blast spell to blow its head clean off. He needed to toy with it for better visuals, but when he looks back Eugen is completely gone. That is when Eugen appears directly in his face saying that he's so lucky it hit him because firing dangerous magic in the middle of the city is not a good idea. Yi-Sok distances himself saying no way as he clearly saw his skull shatter. He then readies his spell wondering how he's standing, but Eugen luffies his arm over grabbing his mouth, saying that he's the one, the serial killer who murders innocents with magic. He was on the fence since his face was uglier than the rumors, but when people screamed, and ran away in shock, screaming that a serial killer had appeared he was certain. The spectators are all saying that he's the serial killer, wondering what the hell he's talking about. Eugen says the biggest, and most unforgivable reason is that no sane person would blow up someone's head with magic out of nowhere. Only a true murderer could do something that horrific to an innocent person, and no one with a normal conscience could even think of using magic that way, as he starts to squeeze Yi-Sok's face in half like a tube of toothpaste. Eugen tells him that to study magic for that kind of brutality is beyond redemption, and he'll pay when he wakes up. As he spaghettifies him he tells him to reflect, and find a way to atone. He eventually calls Sung-hae, and tells everybody to rest easy now, but then says that was good promo, but as he turns around he sees that everybody's already ran for their lives. Elsewhere we see somebody watching it on their phone saying it's creepy, walking the streets like that in broad daylight is absolutely wild. They then assume that it's a magic disguise, because there's no way it's his real face. Rumor also has it that he was Ui-hyuk's disciple, and if that's true they need to talk to someone about it. The other girl says that they can go ask her directly, and she walks over saying it looks like she's wrapping up work. The dude tells her to wait, asking if she's really forgotten who they work under, as this is Ui-hyuk's own daughter, and disciple. The woman runs over telling her to check this out. As a mage goes to cast a magic spell she wraps vines around him stopping him. Then asks the woman if she knows the freak in this video, as rumor has it that he's also one of Ui-hyuk's disciples. The dude says that she's going to get skinned for asking that. The girl says that even if Ui-hyuk had tons of disciples someone impersonating one should be dealt with responsibly. But the girl recognizes it as Eugen instantly. She's surprised that she actually knows him. The dude says he warned her. The girl then asks if she's mad as she breaks the phone. The guy says that was his, and not hers, while tweaking. Ui-hyuk's daughter says that no doubt, even after a decade plus she can tell, as that's a face she can never forget. And finally it's a chance for her to prove herself to her father. She is the best among his disciples. We learn that her name is Jong-ain. She says that Eugen will be her proof. Back to Eugen. We see him unspaghettifying Yi-Sok saying that he's so sorry as it was a misunderstanding, and he didn't expect him to be an academy director. Yi-Sok, terrified of him, says that he just wants to go home, and rest. Eugen then says that even if he irritated him, by promoting in front of his academy he can't just blast people with magic. They could have talked it out instead. Yi-Sok says that if he looked like someone words would have worked on then yeah. Sung-hae says that he should leave the killer stuff to the police, and focus on growing his academy, as they'll call him when they need help. He says that he's glad to hear it, so he'll go promote elsewhere. She starts cheering him on, and waves by saying that she doesn't know why she's so worried because it's not like he's some stray from the riverside. He then says that he's gonna go try it in front of an elementary school, and they realize that those kids are about to grow up with crazy amounts of PTSD. They watch him walk away as he says their Spotify age is probably high enough. We get a flashback to when Ain was a kid doing magic. She was so excited. She told her dad to look, as new magic is coming for her too. He says that he saw it. Of course she is his daughter after all, but to keep this in mind, being special isn't something that you just possess, and feel satisfied with. You have to do things worthy of that specialness for it to truly shine, so she must become a special person worthy of the talent he gave her. She says of course she will become a grand mage just like him. Then asks where Uncle Eugen is, as she wants to hurry up, and brag to him. He then goes to tell her where he is. The flashback ends as it jumps to the present, and Yi-Sok says he's a total fucking lunatic. He turns people into a liquidish form with unidentified magic, but it might also not even be magic, he doesn't know yet. His face isn't human, and haunts him, so there's no way a monster like that could have been Ui-hyuk's disciple. Ain says that they say that he even took in war orphans out of compassion, and raised them as disciples, and that was how Eugen came to be, but asks if he really doesn't have any intel on Eugen's magic. Yi-seok says that forget intel, if he hadn't let his guard down he wouldn't have gone down without a fight. There's just too much talk going around to let this slide, so this time he came prepared, gathering the best from his academy's combat track alumni. So no matter what magic that guy pulls, as long as they're all together it'll be okay. Ain says that he's mistaken. She came to get info on him, and he's giving some long-winded story after getting his shit rocked. Yi-seok tells her to wait a second, but Ain says that she won't keep him if he's busy. There's no need to see her out. As she goes to walk away, some of the men step in front of her, saying them barging into someone else's company, and being this rude is a bit much. This attitude isn't even called for, so she should apologize directly to the director, and cooperate. She goes to tell them that she's told them before that she doesn't plan to, and the dudes say they should just let her leave since they're good on their own. There's no point making space for someone who won't even take a bite. Yi-seok tells them to stop, and let her go, as she's the Grand Mage's daughter, but they say exactly she's not the Grand Mage herself, so hanging around a stuck-up bitch like this won't do them any good, and she might have learned magic from her dad, but clearly no manners. The door then starts to get open. As we see Yi-seok sweating nervously, it turns out they wiped their entire squad in just a couple seconds. Ain says that next time he should teach his group manners before magic. Meanwhile at a cafe, we see Eugen laughing while browsing on his laptop. He must be watching one of my videos. A dude walks over saying that he's been holding it in, but that noise is getting on his nerves, and he asks him if he owns this cafe or something, telling him to quiet down. Eugen turns around smiling as we see he has AirPods in. He takes them out asking if he was too loud, apologizing. The dude says that he just mistook him for someone he knows, and to enjoy the rest of his recap. Eugen says promotions are low-key scary. He's trying to find a good algorithm to use for it. Sung-hae told him to look for data into it, but he can't find anything. He has no idea where to start, and feels totally lost. They stopped him from going to the elementary school, telling him to use internet promo like Instagram, or YouTube, as that stuff works. He then spots a video of Ain that's trending on YouTube, and he wonders what it is. He goes to click it, and gets tapped on the shoulder from behind. He says that it's not what it looks like. He was just looking at this, and about to get back to work. We see it's the girl from Ain's team. She starts freaking out, saying that his face is horrifying. He apologizes for startling her, and she says that it's fine, but asks if he is Eugen. He says that he is, and she says that there's someone who really wants to meet him, asks if he can follow. He does so as they head outside, and the man tells Ain that he's following nice and easy, and since this is the middle of the city he won't try anything suspicious, but also they'll call her when they get close. Eugen says he's curious about who they're going to meet. As Eugen still thinks about it, the dude just wonders how a guy looks like that in the first place. It's not just his looks, but the vibe he gives off makes people hella scared, and who knows when he'll show his true colors. If anything suspicious happens, he's going to have to deal with it. He thought it'd just be as simple as bringing him in, no problem, but he didn't understand that it would be this tense and stressful. A little before this, Ain was explaining how Eugen is 34 years old, and at around 4 her father took him in as a war orphan, raising him as a mage. He worked as chief researcher at the Magic Tech Research Foundation, and vanished 14 years ago. They can't believe that he was actually one of the disciples, but the girl is more freaked out by his childhood photo. She asks how a face this cute turned into that hideous freak. Ain says that while she finishes prep she'll leave them to bringing Eugen in, and we learn that their names are Hui Myung and Eun-hae. Hui Myung says that he wants to know what Ain plans to do once she meets him. She says on the day that Eugen disappeared, her father says that he was disappointed in him. The disciple who was always by her father's side basking in his favor turned his back, and Banner suddenly, and now after over a decade he shows up, and she needs to check if he needs to threaten or dishonor her father's legacy. She'll crush him herself. She just needs the two of them to bring him to her. Back to the escort. Eun-hae wonders what's wrong with Eugen, and he's been staring at her so creepily since earlier. It's giving her so many goosebumps she can't even breathe right. She says it's not like he would pull something in public right here, but Eugen gets right up to her ear saying he's got it, and that she must work with Ain. She gets startled, and he goes to explain that he saw her in this video as he pulls out his phone. She cuts off his hand saying that the plan has changed, telling Hui Myung to subdue him, and drag him with them. He says he knew it would come to this, and uses his magic to slam Eugen into the floor. He says he expected shit to hit the fan, but not this soon. He knows that Eun-hae was the one who blew it. She says surely he won't die from this. He asks why she had to cut off his arm to begin with. She says that he should try standing in front of him, and she thought she was going to lose it. His arm starts to wiggle after it grabs onto his phone, and she turns looking at it. Saying that he was staring at her really creepily from behind, and reached out without thinking she reacted. Eugen apologizes as he starts to stand back up. He says he didn't mean to unintentionally stare at her, but no matter how unpleasant she felt, that kind of lashing out seems excessive. We get a flashback to before, as Eun-hye says just in case if Eugen attacks them first, what's the best way to handle it. As word is, tons of mages have died by his hands, and he's Ui-hyuk's disciple to boot, so they're not sure they can deal with him. Ain says that his magic talent is top-notch for sure, but Eugen was a researcher through and through. Hui Myung has succeeded in countless bodyguarding gigs against high-level corporate assassination attempts, while Eun-hye fought against 100 terrorists, so nothing like that half-baked Yi-sok who got bodied. If a problem arises, they just need to minimize the damage while they respond, and hit her up immediately. The flashback ends with her looking confused as what she sees is Eun-hye on the ground screaming, saying that this is gross and creepy, and Hui Myung has been turned into spaghetti. Eugen has a spike through his head, and looks over towards Ain before she hits him with an attack, sending him flying. She walks over asking the two of them if they're okay. Eun-hye begins to cry as Hui Myung tells her to be careful, as he has no clue what magic it is, but he keeps regenerating no matter what they hit him with. He punches right through their defense spells like it's nothing. Worse, if he touches her, she's done. Eun-hye says that he's a complete freak monster. Spectators start to form around, recognizing her as Ain, Ui-hyuk's daughter, saying that she must be here to catch that monster. She starts to summon a magic circle, and says first things first as she shoots it around herself, and her group as well as Eugen, saying it's time to relocate them all, and they fly off into the air to a nearby abandoned area. They land safely on the ground. Eugen says he knew he wasn't seeing anything, asking how Ain grew so much in the meantime, and that it's been 14 years, so she's 22 now. He says that it's Uncle Eugen, asking if she remembers him. Then he mentions that she got that hat from her dad, meaning she became a mage after all, and he always told her she could do it. She asks him why he did this to the people she sent, and he tells her that he made a mistake earlier by staring too much, which pissed them off, and they started swinging lethal spells at him, so he just tied them up gently until they calmed down. She says she doesn't care about the details. She was agonizing over what excuse to make to fight him, but turns out there's no need against someone already broken. She pulls out her staff, saying that she'll deal with it from here on out because he did this to her friends, and that her father would be even more disappointed after hearing all the shit he's pulled writing on his name. That's why he needs to fall to her, as we see her combining multiple magic effects, stacking them, and she says that she'll prove it to him right now that she's the one who will follow after her father's footsteps. She casts a spell on her staff, creating a blade, and runs straight in, leaping at Eugen, saying that she doesn't want him talking to her like they're close to begin with. Meanwhile, back at Yi-sok's academy, his men are pissed, saying they can't let this slide. This is a humiliation for the entire academy. Even if she's Ui-hyuk's child, they have to show her they won't let this stand. Yi-sok says he gets they're pissed, but to drop it, since she is still the flesh and blood of Ui-hyuk, and that she didn't just inherit his wealth. Back in the day, he happened to be in the same group as her, during a mission to wipe out a mage's crime syndicate. That was the first time in his mage career he ever felt insignificant. The gap between her and him as mages was so vast it was hard to believe they were in the same profession. To think that he'd swallow that kind of insult quietly was surprising, but he knew that even if every combat mage in their academy, himself included, ganged up on her, he can't even imagine touching a single hair on her head. Back to the fight, we see a massive explosion, and Eun-hye says she seems extra pissed today. Hui Myung is just chilling on the ground. Yi-sok says that woman's magic is no different from a natural disaster. It's impossible to imagine her ever losing to anything. As she's ripping Eugen apart, he says that it's so weird, wondering why she's so angry. He then appears behind her, asking if something bad happened. As the Ain he remembers wouldn't throw a tantrum just because she's in a bad mood. She blows his mouth off, telling him to shut up. Saying that he's no uncle of hers, calling him a traitor. He betrayed her father, and vanished without a shred of gratitude. Then he has the nerve to show up again, going around tarnishing the honor of being her father's disciple. So as his real disciple, she's dishing out his punishment. He wonders what she means by betrayal, asking if he did something wrong. As this is the first time they've met in over a decade, yet she's attacking him without hesitation. He then says that he gets it. As we get a flashback to when she was younger, looking depressed, Eugen asked if she still can't use magic, wondering what her father said. She told him that her dad said just to wait a little longer. As kids with magic talent started learning basic spells way younger than her, and that's what it is. She then asks what to do. If she can't become a mage like her dad, she'll tarnish his legacy. He tells her not to worry, because she is the daughter of the greatest Grand Mage. He loves her more than anything in this world, and that he and her father will find some way to make her into a mage on par with her father. Once she can use magic, they should study it together. They'll get her used to using it in secret, so her dad will be shocked. She wipes away her tears, and they pinky promise on it. As his hand begins reforming, he says that he's sorry that he couldn't keep his promise with her. She lands back on the ground, calling him a monster. Even after using every type of magic available, not a single one's got through, asking if it's even possible to kill him. Eugen though is just feeling guilty that he had to leave without seeing her become a mage. He smiles, saying that now he understands. Her heart begins to feel strained as she puts her hand on her chest. She says she got hasty, and used too much magic. And regardless, right now she can tell that he's overconfident in his regeneration. And he's not even responding right now, acting carefree. But unless he is a grand mage, all magic has its limits. She can just use some kind of spell to suppress his regeneration, but she needs to calm her heart as she takes out a pill. Eugen then says that he's sorry for not realizing it sooner, as he was so happy to see her that he completely forgot. She wanted to show off all the magic she's honed without him around, saying that he knows she's just trying to brag. She's completely confused, and he says that since she's become this skilled and outstanding all on her own, he's seriously blown away by how much practice it must have taken. To wield such a wide variety of spells so proficiently, he can tell she worked really hard, and her dad would be so proud. She recalls him congratulating her when she was younger on her first time ever when she learned magic theory, telling her how impressed he was. When she told him to become his best disciple, this much is basic, but he has a lot more to teach her from now on. He tells her to keep working hard, and that he'll be waiting for the day she becomes as good as Eugen. For her to do that, she never stopped studying, and trained permanently in her younger years, and her dad always praised her for her efforts and accomplishments, but he never once said that she reached Eugen's level. Even after he disappeared, he still remained her father's most proud disciple. We see him smiling, giving her 2 thumbs up as he has to praise his students' effort and achievements actively, so they feel rewarded. He says that he studied this student mental care method online, and that it really does have everything on there. This much should calm her down, but we see her shatter her medicine box out of frustration, and he realizes he might have made a mistake. She chugs a handful of pills. She says everything she's built up, all of her efforts and achievements are not something that should just be diminished as a kid's silly tricks. She starts using a magic much different than anything we've seen so far. She says that she'll go along with it since he's being so generous. He starts to smile wider, and she tells him to try taking this attack too with his regeneration magic. Though she herself knows it's all just her trying to shake off her inferiority complex. Hui Myung and Eun-hye yell, telling her to calm down, and if she uses that here they're all dead. Eugen stares at it, and is really impressed. He says that she's actually reached the pinnacle of magic, and this is 3rd circle. He looks super excited. He wonders how much effort it took for her to master magic to this degree, as he really wants to help her flourish, and to honor the effort she's built up so she can bear an even greater fruit. She uses the 3rd circle magic, called Demon Eye Spear, and starts to throw it at Eugen. He says that he realizes now that what she needed wasn't actually praise. As he shoves his hand through hers, he picks her up, saying that it was the manual control circuit for this 3rd circle magic she was about to use. If she tweaks the mana distribution ratio just a tiny bit, it would be way more efficient. She doesn't need such a complicated circuit layout. He says that he just needs to continue guiding her towards even greater heights. Her magic starts to dissipate, and Hui Myung wonders if they should be happy they survived, as they don't know what kind of crash out Aang will have after this. He then tells her that high-speed movement spell from earlier was cool, and goes to give her some pointers. She yells, asking if he's really doing this shit again, asking why he hasn't fixed that habit. He wonders what she's talking about, so she tells him that he doesn't even know what he did wrong. The habit that he's always had. He picks apart every little mistake in front of everyone, and she can't believe he is doing it during the middle of a fight, wondering how someone can not change a bit in over a decade. Even when she gave him those cookies she made for her dad's birthday, he just sat there telling her how to improve it, and he didn't care how embarrassed she was in front of her dad. She goes into full-blown tantrum mode, calling him a clueless asshole. Eventually she calms down, and Hui Myung and Eun-hye wonder if she's just been bottling this up. Eugen realizes that he needs to calm her down even more, saying that he'll turn her co-workers back to normal. Aang takes off her hat, and is embarrassed that she lost her cool like that, but realizes she can't fight him anymore, because if she does, She'll be the weird one. He then asks when she started being able to use magic fully like that, as he and her father were continuously racking their brains trying to help her use it. She says it was the day after he left. He says that makes sense, and then realizes something. He freezes up. As Hu Im-young turns back to normal, he wonders if his face is back to normal, and Eun-hae says that he's always been ugly, so not to worry. Ain tells them it's time to head back. Also, she doesn't know what Yujin's been up to lately, but there are a lot of mages who have abandoned him, but she's sure he'll manage just fine. She just doesn't want him to tarnish her father's reputation any further, so to act with caution. Also, there's no need to come back to her father now, because for the both of them, his empty spot no longer exists. She then goes to cast her teleportation spell, telling him to get over here, but he keeps touching the scar on his neck. As he does approach her, she asks where he lives, saying that she'll drop him off. Then hands him her business card. As he reaches towards it, he goes past it, and puts his hand straight into her chest. She looks down, confused. Hu Im-young and Eun-hae start to freeze up as Yujin pulls out her heart straight from her chest. He says there's no way, and he hoped it wasn't true. As he keeps touching his neck, he says that he always tried to understand. As it turns out, Yoo I-hyuk killed him previously, and he always told himself there had to be a reason. At least that's what he truly forced himself to believe. As Yoo I-hyuk stole his heart, it turns out he put it inside of his own daughter. Yujin stares down at the heart in his hand, and says this is not something that he can just accept. It jumps to a flashback of a man yelling at Yoo I-hyuk, asking what he's done. Yoo I-hyuk tells him to speak quietly, because his ears are going to fall off. We learn the man's name is Friedrich. Friedrich asks why he's teaching magic to inferior humans. He already knows the reason they've been hiding for over a dozen centuries. They couldn't even control their primitive knowledge, and brought destruction upon themselves. He joined his plan that mages should lead humans. It wasn't about handing swords to the unqualified. Yoo I-hyuk calls him foolish, telling him to watch his words. Mages are humans too. Friedrich starts to get pissed. Yoo I-hyuk tells him that mages have been hiding all the way this time, and magic has stagnated. Revealing magic wasn't salvation. It was the path to mutual prosperity. Friedrich starts to summon a magic circle, asking what he means by mutual prosperity. Yoo I-hyuk watches as, with just a flick of Friedrich's wrist, he carves out a massive chunk out of everything in his path. He asks how this is meant to be mutual prosperity when they hold this kind of power. Yoo I-hyuk says that if he can't trust it he should watch quietly as the era of the mages will change. Maybe among those human lives that he looks down on so much a terrifying mage might emerge who even he, the strongest mage, would find ridiculous. But before that, as he starts to summon his own magic circle, Friedrich realizes he messed up, and Yoo I-hyuk says that he must pay the price for defying a grand mage. The flashback ends as Ain starts to wake up. We see Hu Im-young and Eun-hae waiting for her on a nearby couch. She asks where she is, and Yujin asks if she's okay, getting really close. She crawls away from him, scared. Eun-hae tells her that this is her uncle's place, he's the director of a new academy. She asks what they're talking about, and Yujin says that he decided to open a magic academy, but he's right before opening. So he's super busy, he has to finish the interior first, then recruit students. He tells her that he's been trying to promote using SNS. Which he's excited to see how it'll go. Ain though is more worried about her heart, saying there's no problem with it. She wonders if he pulled it out just to look at it. Also why the two of them are chatting casually with someone who ripped out her heart. Eun-hae tells her to stop putting it like that. Hu Im-young explains it to her, that it turns out Yujin knew everything about the heart problem that she's been having. She's surprised, asking if he really drilled into someone else's chest just to check it out. He says that she used a lot of big magic today. It must have strained her heart even more, as she consumed all of her pills at the same time. They got so scared seeing her collapse. So he let them come here. Since the heart issue is top secret, they couldn't risk taking her to the hospital. Ain apologizes for intruding, saying there's no point troubling him anymore, so she'll be going. Yujin watches as they get ready, but tells Ain to wait for a second, as he has something to tell her. It's something very important. Hu Im-young and Eun-hae ask if she's okay to be left alone, and she tells them to go head home. They then start discussing amongst themselves if maybe seeing the creepy-ass face since childhood warped her psyche. It's still crazy that she's having a one-on-one meeting with someone who ripped out her heart. As that just sounds absurd to even say aloud. She then asks what he's been staring at, and he says it's the flyer from the academy. She says there's no way the dude is sane trying to teach students with his creepy magic, and creepy face. Hui Myung says that the regeneration magic alone was crazy, but also how he pierced through their defense magic, meaning it might be worth learning. She laughs, saying that he should know better, as who would sell their own livelihood magic for money. Hui Myung says that he's probably just promoting the academy to the chief. Then she agrees. As they're walking by, Hui Myung bumps into someone, and he apologizes. The man then says to wait, as he's seen them on YouTube with Yoo Hyuk's daughter. Eun-hae gets embarrassed, saying she doesn't know what to do with this unwanted fame, but that is them. Then Hui Myung asks if they've met before. He says that he thought young folks these days wouldn't know, but he's actually a close friend of Yoo Hyuk's father. Meaning he's an uncle to Ain. Of course this is Friedrich from the flashback. Ain then asks Yujin what he wanted to say. He says that he knows every time she uses magic it strains her heart. She asks if maybe he heard from her father, but there is no point in hiding it, and if she keeps using magic like this she'll probably die very soon. It sure is crazy that, despite inheriting the most special talent from her father, she had to be born with a mana allergy, a rare constitution that constantly burns her heart. Eventually it will burst killing her. Yujin laughs while touching the scar on his neck, saying that it sounds like a plausible lie, and that his master sure came up with one crazy story. Ain says that must be why he ripped open her heart to check it, and that his absurd impulsiveness hasn't changed, but if he's done now she has to get going because a ton of work is piled up. He grabs her arm, telling her that the world has tons of things people need beyond mages. Instead of living on borrowed time as a mage she could find other work that suits her, and that as her uncle he'll help her. So she can start fresh. She tells him to let go, and pulls her arm away, saying that he crossed the line. She already told him that his spot as her uncle is gone, and he has no right to meddle in her life. This is something she got from her father, but it's also her burden for being born sick. If she's going to live a life that isn't a mage, she'd rather just die. She then tells him that opening a magic academy suits him well. Instead of sticking his nose where it doesn't belong with her, he should focus on getting students to pay, and listen to him. He debates telling her the truth, and as soon as he goes to her phone starts ringing. She answers it, asking Eun-hae what's wrong because her voice sounds weird. She starts sweating, and panics, saying that she needs to hang in there, as she's on her way right now. She goes to leave, telling Yujin it's an emergency, but still he's debating if he should have told her the truth or not. We see him, and her father discussing how a simulation failed. After using every medical magic they knew, he can't stop projection into someone unable to accept mana when transplanting a mage's heart. If they could solve this one issue, they could create more great mages with integrity and wisdom. Yoo Hyuk says that the sim's basic premise is too extreme. Transplanting Yujin's heart dense with the highest mana he knows into Ain who's not even 8 is absurd, asking if he really intends to do that. Yujin says that she's his precious niece, and his master's daughter, so of course he has to give her the best he has. Even if she can use magic, living a borrowed time would be putting the car before the horse, so he's going to shelf this method for now, as there has to be a better way. The flashback ends with him saying even if he told her the truth she wouldn't give up. He wonders if he needs to hold her back by force, or if he should seal her magic. He starts to get frustrated, but also feels guilty, saying this is all because Master took his heart, so she's dying because of him. He has no choices left at all. Just like 14 years ago he's still nothing but a useless coward. His doorbell then starts ringing, and he wonders who it could be. Meanwhile Ain heads to the nearby mountains, as Friedrich says that aside from her hair and eye color she doesn't really look much like her father, but seeing that hat brings back some old memories. Ain says the pressure just from facing him is real, as he was once her father's right-hand man, and a traitor who smashed multiple cities defying her father. Friedrich's chugging a drink, saying that those old memories sure do hit hard, but they're going to make him puke at this rate. Ain says that Friedrich Gameroa is still the strongest combat mage alive, as he throws Eun-hae and Hui Myung to her. Their arms look crazy broken. He asks why she keeps these weaklings around, as they're too pathetic even as errand boys. Hui Myung tells her to run, because if her father doesn't show up they're done for. Eun-hae as well cries, saying they shouldn't have called her, but it was too scary. Ain says she'll send them straight to the hospital, thanking them for everything. They realize what this means, but it's too late, as she sends them flying away. Friedrich says that now she's had enough time to sort things out. It's time for her to help him. He's off to meet her dad after 30 years, and he can't show up empty-handed. Her heart starts to race, and she smiles awkwardly, saying that she finally found what she was looking for. Friedrich says that he's going to take her head back to her father, as that would make the 30-year reunion more dramatic. She laughs, saying that he doesn't even know her father's taste even though they're old friends. As Ui Hyuk's daughter, and his most loyal disciple, even if she died it would be honorably, and she warns him that her father will turn him away at the door. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Hui Myung and Eun Hae are laying there as EMTs quickly run over, realizing they need to get them prepped for treatment immediately. Back to Yujin. Turns out the one who came to his house was Sung Hae, saying that she asked their PR department for help. She said they'd put together a quick guide on how to prepare for social media promotions, and send it over. At least this way he can be relieved, since she was the one who suggested it to him. She says she actually came to check in, worried he might be causing trouble again, but the pressure she feels from him right now is way too much. He already looks creepy enough, but him being depressed like this makes it downright horrifying. She wonders what's wrong with him, asking if he's okay. He says that he's sorry after she went through all that trouble for him, but he's going to scrap the academy plans, and look for a different job. She asks why. He says that there was a child who struggled desperately for their dream, even to the point of self-harm. Instead of helping them achieve that dream, he urged them to give up, which must have hurt them deeply. So now he realizes he's just a meddlesome busybody who can't even understand how others feel, yet he wants to be an educator. He just doesn't think he's cut out for this line of work. She sips her drink, thinking about something, saying that she doesn't think that's quite right. As she tells him working as a detective allows her to see these things more than he'd think. She once broke down a door to save a victim from a burglar, only for him to scream at her about who was going to pay for the door. She's even been slapped in the face after saving someone, shivering on the edge of a bridge trying to end it all. The world is full of people who either don't realize they're in danger, or choose to ignore it, even when they clearly need help. So how could she just leave them alone? Saving them is still her duty in the end. He decided to become an educator, so even if there's a student turning a blind eye to their own suffering, he has to show them the danger, worry with them, and help them find a way through it. That is his duty as an educator. Yujin says he wanted to do that, but he didn't know how. She says the way there is simple. They live in a world with magic after all. If he looks hard enough, he'll definitely come up with some idea. Back to the fight, we see they are completely terraforming the area around them in real time. Friedrich is casually casting high-level spells, keeping her on the complete defensive. While she is using the highest form of basic magic due to her heart's condition, she's not trying to strain it. Friedrich honestly looks a little bored as she comes in from behind with a surprise attack that is her stacking magic effects all together to create a chain of versatile attacks, similar to what we've seen before. She even uses the mana blade at the tip of her staff, but Friedrich blocks it with pure ease. He points one finger at her before sending her flying away through the air. Realizing she can't miss this chance, she starts to combine even more magic effects. As a shadow begins to loom over Friedrich, he turns back. As she's lifted out an entire chunk of the forest using telekinesis, she slams it down onto him, completely trapping him underneath the mountain she just lifted into the air. Her heart though starts to feel extremely strained as she grabs onto it, gasping. Friedrich says that numerous attributes, and types of magic that an ordinary mage wouldn't dare to attempt, and the skills that she has to weave those into one, along with a mana capacity capable of throwing a literal mountain at him. She truly is an outstanding mage worthy of being Ui Hyuk's flesh and blood. Asking if that's all she's been wanting to hear. He gets that she can spam a bunch of spells, but she hasn't mastered a single one yet. He didn't come here to watch her talent show. He then looks up as she summons the same thing she did against Yujin. The giant eye gazes down at him. He's a little surprised to see the third circle magic. As it starts condensing the energy at the tip of the eye, she shoots it out, blasting it straight towards Friedrich, trying to end it once, and for all. After the attack lands, she's gasping as her nose begins bleeding, and she says it's finally over. She poured out every single spell she could use, and now she's at her limit. If she uses even one more spell her heart will explode. It seems like this is the end of her magic, and her life though, as Friedrich is still completely unscathed. She says that she hoped for her final battle, and struggled to be a little more valiant. Friedrich tells her instead just to go home. She's confused, but he tells her that he expected a masterpiece. Instead he gets a kid trying to play mage. All she uses is crude magic inflated with nothing but firepower and flashiness. While it was third circle magic, she just forced the three circles together awkwardly. He's honestly speechless. To think that Ui Hyuk's offspring is at this level, he almost feels sorry for him. If he killed a failure like her, he would just be doing Ui Hyuk a favor by taking out the trash. She wonders what the hell he's saying to her right now. Friedrich continues, saying he'd rather die than do something that benefits him. He should have known when he saw the level of her underlings that this would have been a complete buzzkill. He tells her to go home, wash up, and sleep. She asks where he's going, telling him to finish this fight. He said that he'd take her head to her father. Yet he's now running away. She's frustrated because if she survives like this she'll be left with nothing but a pathetic life stripped of her magic. He tells her to keep yapping as it's annoying him to death. She keeps whining, begging to be killed even after he said he'd spare her, then he guesses he might as well do it. But Eugen appears, grabbing her hand, saying that he's been looking all over for her. Friedrich's surprised, but so is Aine. She asks what he's doing here. We see a little before he actually arrived that Eugen got a phone call saying that he knows about the old man Friedrich, and asked where it is. He says he knows where that location is too, but not to worry as he's heading right there. Aine will be safe. He apologizes to Sung-hae as something urgent came up. She says if it's urgent he should go. Then he asks if he could have the flyer. She hands it to him as he thanks her. He says he's sorry for worrying her with his gloomy face earlier, especially when she came here in her free time. She tells him it happens, and she feels like maybe she was being a bit nosy. He tells her that just being nosy isn't the way he'd put it, and thanks to those words she considers nosy he was able to find courage too. He'll contact her after he finishes this urgent business. She tells him to be safe, but wonders how urgent it is for him to warp the wall creating his own window to leave from. She says that he seems to have regained his energy. But good grief, she can't believe he got energized with such a creepy ass look on his face as he starts flying through the air. He spots the aftermath of the fight, saying that this is the place that Hu Im-young mentioned on the phone, and that it's a complete mess. It looks like it was hit by a missile bombardment. If the magic was used to scorch the surroundings to this extent, it most definitely must be Friedrich fighting. He then spots them down on the ground, and smiles happily saying that this is good. That is when he exited his creepy-ass little bird form, and grabbed onto her wrist. Back to the present, she asks how he found this place. He says that it was Hu Im-young, the one who works with her, he actually called, and told him she was in danger. He goes to say he'll thank him later before his head explodes. Friedrich calls him creepy, asking Aine if that beanpole is her boyfriend, but he looks so hideous he can't even stand to look at him anymore. He couldn't hold back the heat of the moment, so he just did what he had to. Eugen tells him that his temper is the same as it was then, and now, but to wait a moment as he'll deal with him once he's done talking to Aine. Aine asks what the hell he's doing, as he's pulling out her heart once more. He tells her to look, as it's in the state where it wouldn't be strange if it exploded, and if she used magic just now it really would have been over. She starts to pull away, saying that she told him earlier not to interfere, asking if he doesn't understand her feelings. It's pointless to meddle anymore. He needs to let her die as a mage, rather he needs to let her die as Yu Hyuk's daughter. Eugen asks why he shouldn't interfere. What kind of adult would look at a kid determined to die, and just say go ahead while leaving them to be, as he yells this to her. Realizing she doesn't really have anything to say, she asks what he wants her to do. How is she meant to do anything? This is the only chance she has to be special to her father. There's no way for her to prove herself other than this. She doesn't truly want to die either, but with a heart like hers she can't even dream of being a grand mage. How is she supposed to become her father's proudest disciple? He says that's exactly why her uncle is here. The mana and heart that her dad left her, which lets her fly through the sky and overturn mountains. But he realizes he'll tell her later, saying that they can put it aside for now. If she promises not to give up on life, and gives him a chance to take responsibility, no matter what it takes he will make her a grand mage. She says even her father couldn't help, so how could he? But she swallowed the words that were about to leave her mouth. Looking at the flyer, she says that the person in front of her is the one she so desperately wanted to become, because he is her father's proudest disciple. She asks if he's really grabbing other people's hearts to threaten them now, as this is unbelievable, but maybe he can let her dream the one she gave up on, so she'll take a chance, asking if she should call him master or uncle. He smiles, saying master is a bit old-fashioned, and he'd rather her call him teacher. As he crushes her heart in his hands, she watches, confused, asking what the hell he's doing, but also confused as to why it doesn't hurt. He says it's so good to see it after so long, while shameless he had a favor to ask. No longer as his heart, but as Aine's heart. He shoves it back into her chest. She says that all of it disappeared, the mana that was constantly overflowing from her heart, and the pain. It feels completely peaceful. The uncomfortable feeling like it wasn't her own is now gone. This means that she can live, and somehow regain her magic, and aiming for Grand Mage might truly be possible. Eugen tells Friedrich that he's sorry for keeping him waiting. Even Ain forgot that Friedrich was there because of the whole moment. Eugen says that since he is done talking to her, if he has business with him he'll hear him out. Friedrich is still doomed scrolling his Instagram reels. He then gets up saying it's absurd. He doesn't know how long it's been since he was ignored like this. He doesn't really have any business with them, but there is one thing that bugs him. He said earlier that his temper was the same as ever. It bothers him that he's speaking as if they've met, but he doesn't remember ever seeing a gross-ass looking guy like him. Eugen says that it has been long enough to forget, as the last time they saw each other was around 30 years ago. Back when he came to his master he threw a tantrum, got scolded, and ran away. Friedrich starts to smile out of pure frustration, saying that he has an interesting choice of words. Then he wonders why all the brats raised by Ui Hyuk have such filthy mouths, but it does make tearing him apart much more appealing. Ain wonders why he's provoking him for no reason, reminding him that is Friedrich, the strongest mage with no equal aside from her father. He made such a fuss about saving her, and now they're both going to die. He tells her that this works out well. He's too dangerous to just leave alone. As his neck starts to change shape, he says showing her in a situation like this will make it memorable, and to watch closely as she is his first student. He will show her all about his own Grand Mage curriculum, and to treat this as orientation. Ain though is just surprised, asking what the hell is that bizarre magic, cause it's creepier than anything he's used before. She asks if that's truly magic. She's never heard of a rune shaped like this before either. He says of course it's magic, since she's completely defenseless right now. He's casting this so she doesn't get caught up in that old man's magic. He tells her to watch carefully as this is second circle magic. It's an all-attribute full body protection one. He casts it on her, telling her that it'll be dangerous, so step back a bit. Also he wants her to tell him how much mana was in that spell he just used, asking if she knows. She says of course she does. Aegis is the protection spell she always kept up during battles, but as she goes to tell him he says the correct answer is not even a single drop. She's confused, and he tells her not to worry too much about her heart's mana disappearing anymore. Even he has no mana in his heart either. What he's about to show her, and teach her from here on out, is how to use magic without using mana. He starts to run over like an Enderman, and Ain says in a situation like this, he is saying something that makes no sense, but also she doesn't even know if they can win. As he's running in, Friedrich wonders if he's a close range type, but he looks too defenseless to rush in. While he is Ui Hyuk's disciple he must have confidence in something. For now he just wants to watch, and see what he does. Once more Eugen casts second circle magic called Binding Vine Rope. It starts to wrap around the entire barrier, constricting it until the point it shatters. She's surprised as even when she blasted it with high-powered spells his barrier didn't budge at all, yet he broke it with a basic spell. Friedrich says that's some pretty solid spell structure, definitely way better than even some of Ui Hyuk's. While it's impressive, that's all he gives it. Wasn't nearly good enough to provoke him like he did though. As he swings his hand he cleaves off Eugen's head, but says that he knows it'll probably grow back like it did last time, and then while it's shocking he guesses that he is banking on being able to regenerate from this. Ain says that his regen is disgustingly fast, but his opponent is the great mage Friedrich, so he might find a way somehow to get him to not regenerate. Friedrich smiles, saying it's not his first time seeing it, as there is no such thing like an invincible immortal without a weakness. There's always a core at the center of regeneration, or some kind of limit point, so he's gonna disintegrate his body from the inside down to the molecular level. But he's not gonna be able to do anything with it. Friedrich looks confused, but also looks strained, asking him how the hell he's grabbing that right now. Friedrich explains that the black lightning is a chemical reaction caused by mana. The moment it touches anything it should melt it regardless of what it was, and he can't just grab it like he's pulling a weed. He wonders what the hell is wrong with this guy. He then decides to give it to him, and distances himself. He says that he needs to pressure his regen more as he swipes, melting half of Eugen's body, but Eugen regenerates in an instant, grabbing onto his arm. Friedrich wonders why he's getting excited, saying that he has 12 layers of high-density protection spells around his entire body. There's no way he's gonna break through it, and while it might feel like he's grabbing his arm, it's actually like grabbing the outer wall of a nuclear bunker with his bare hands, but instead he watches his arm start to get spaghettified, and wonders what the hell is going on. It continues going up his body, and he makes the strategic play of cutting off his own arm. Eugen says that was one crazy move, and it must have hurt, but he could have just left it too. Friedrich looks at his wound after cauterizing it, saying that even when he fought Ui Hyuk he never got humiliated this pathetically, saying that this magic is complete bullshit. Eugen then tells Ain to pay attention, as he wanted to show her more mana less magic. He doesn't have that leeway anymore, so from now he's going to briefly explain what he showed properly. The one that he showed earlier is him freely altering his own body's composition and form, but it also transforms other objects that touch his hands. Strictly speaking, it's not magic, but the name of this technique she'll learn from now on is magic without runes, and it is called Murin magic. Friedrich casts a spell that sends out a massive lightning bolt in the area, saying that this is disgusting, and he needs to get rid of it immediately, as ever since earlier he's had this disgusting feeling that's gradually corroding his judgment. As Eugen completely walks out unscathed from his attack, Friedrich is debating if it's the pain from having his arm cut off, or bewilderment from his freak magic, but says that it's not that either as he casts out yet another high-level spell that even has summons this time. They start to consume Eugen as he gets engulfed in the flames of Friedrich's mana, and he says ever since he's faced off against this guy, as time passes this feeling is building up more and more. He says that it might be disgust, it's the feeling of something that shouldn't be tangled yet it's getting all twisted up. He hears Eugen laughing while being burnt alive. Friedrich says he's facing something that shouldn't exist in the world right in front of him, and yells telling him to stop giggling as he casts an even higher level spell. Friedrich says that this must be fear. Aine can't help but watch as Eugen is being completely consumed by the flames, but she's still being protected by his magic, so he's still alive. Friedrich starts panicking, saying there's no way that he, Friedrich Gomeroa, would lose to some disciple of Ui Hyuk, but also there's no way that he's scared of him as Eugen forms behind him in a fleshy amalgamation. He stretches his hand through the back of his chest, grabbing onto his heart. Eugen says that must have been hilarious, he's sorry, but in this state the more magic he uses the more his brain itches, and he just can't help it. Aine runs over wondering if the fight finished. Even though Eugen said it so confidently, she was worried something might go wrong, but for real he actually ended up beating Friedrich. Friedrich says that he never thought he'd get to see his own heart in his lifetime. He then asks Eugen if he tells him that he let his guard down a bit if he would buy it. Eugen says he's not specialized in combat magic so he wouldn't know, but if he says so he'll believe him. Friedrich laughs, saying that seeing him being so snarky proves that he's Ui Hyuk's student alright. Eugen says that he still remembers it, one gesture from him, and the city crumbled, and the screams of people burning remains implanted in him. He's someone who shouldn't be allowed to use magic, so he's going to have to end the life of the mage Friedrich right here. Friedrich tells him to go ahead, and act all high and mighty as he's earned that right. He has won this time. He uses the last remains of his mana to cut off Eugen's arm, severing his own heart. He tells Eugen to take a souvenir for himself. Eugen says that this dude is insane right before cutting off his own heart. He pumped all of the heart's mana into his bloodstream at once. He starts absolutely tweaking. He yells out for someone named Shari. And Eugen realizes that he's dangerous. He goes to finish the job, but a hand stretches out of a portal above. While pulling him into it, they also cut Eugen into chunks, causing him to fall onto the floor. They reappear a little off in the distance, and Eugen says that's spatial magic. A woman appears asking what happened, as he was meant to go meet Ui Hyuk, but that monster he's fighting isn't the Grand Mage. She just wants to know what the hell happened, but she'll escort him straight back home. Friedrich tells her to hold on a second. Thanks to this fight he's added some realizations, and as thanks there's something he wants to test out. Eugen begins to close the gap once more, and stretches his hand out towards him as Friedrich's casting a new type of spell, which is third circle magic, combining multiple third circles into one. He shoots it out as it flies past Eugen's face. Friedrich says he doesn't say this often, but he's grateful towards him as he had an unexpected haul. He'll set up a bigger stage next time though, and they can have a proper rematch later. He laughs while leaving as Eugen wipes blood off of his face. Something we've never seen before, as he usually doesn't even bleed. Aine asks if it's over because he just ran away, and that means that he actually did it. He beat the strongest mage, which she thought would be impossible without borrowing a Grand Mage's power. He stretch Armstrong his leg to get up the cliff, saying that luck was on his side as he let his guard down. He's glad that it ended before the time was up. I wonder what that means. Aine asks what he means by let his guard down. There's no way that old bastard would admit defeat so easily. She knew Eugen was amazing, but she wants to know more about the Murin magic. Eugen tells her that the things that he can do, and even beyond that, he'll make sure she can do them too. As the disciple of the greatest Grand Mage, he'll make her the second greatest Grand Mage. Until then, he needs her to promise that she won't get into trouble like today, and that she'll cherish her life. She smiles, saying that this guy hasn't changed a bit since she was a child, and she calls him teacher while they pinky promise. Meanwhile, at a house, we hear someone on the phone saying that Friedrich has appeared. They investigated massive battle traces on a mountain outside Seoul, and fortunately no civilian casualties were reported. They go to tell him about the opponent, and he says it was probably Aine. Since she went after all, Even if he'd known, he wonders if he could have stopped her. He doesn't need her to prove it with her life as a father, but before he finishes that sentence they apologize for interrupting him, saying that during the fight between Ain and Friedrich, Eugen appeared. He freezes up as the person tells him that Friedrich fled, and Ain is unharmed, and it's none other than Hyuk asking if Eugen is really back. Later, we see Friedrich being healed. A man tells the doctor that he's not sure if this is the right thing for him to be doing, and he only came because they said she needed emergency assistance. This patient is Friedrich. And before being a doctor, he is a person, so he doesn't know if it's right to save a terrorist. She tells him that even after getting kidnapped to their hideout, he still somehow has the balls to say that, and if he wants to go home alive and in one piece, which is real by the way, to focus on the surgery. Shari then reappears, asking the doctor how he is, and the doctor tells her that he's still hanging on for now. She says that it's good, as they can start right away. We see a man with one horn greeting Friedrich. Friedrich says all this time he's been cleaning up his mess and had a rough, and we learn that his name is Linus. Linus says not at all, it was an honor to serve him. He rips out his own heart. As Shari cuts off his arm. He says that he hopes this aids him in achieving his great cause. The doctor says now that they have Friedrich's son's heart and arm, they'll proceed with the transplant right away. Friedrich in a weak voice tells Shari to listen well, as she needs to give him a proper funeral after his surgery is done. The doctor tells him to stop talking, or he'll run out of breath, but he tells her to assemble the zodiac. He doesn't know if it's from that fresh experience or from him running out of blood, but he had a better plan. He starts to recall Eugen when he was a child, and he says that Hyuk was right. The times have changed, and so have the mages, but this change won't unfold only in the direction he intended. Elsewhere, Ain says that this coffee thing is pretty good. It's a little bitter and nutty, but she couldn't drink it before due to her heart. But it's not as good as people make it out to be. Eun-hye says that's coffee for you, asking how her condition is. She says it's the best, to the point where she wonders if she's ever felt this good before, but she's also relieved to see them both okay. Eun-hye says that she was honestly scared that they were cooked back then, and she never imagined that Chief's uncle would have real skill in recovery magic too. He bursts into the ER, saying that he'd help them. Everybody was scared, and she low-key almost had a heart attack. Ain laughs, saying that's just how he is. Hu Im-young is curious, asking if she's really going through with it. He means closing down, as it's just so sudden. She says that she's not a mage anymore. She can't take on commissions, so for now they'll keep it under wraps. As for the other staff, they could just tell them that it's after effects from the fight with Friedrich, and that she's healing abroad for recovery. They ask if she's really serious about this. She says yes. She's already talked to them before about how Eugen agreed to help her regain her magic. She doesn't know how long it'll take, but for now she'll quietly crash with him, and rely on him. They both say that they understand he's amazing, but learning that bizarre magic is weird. Hu Im-young is also just relieved, thinking that Ain was always so fierce and cold, and it seemed that she only cared about performance. But somehow she's much more likable now that she's not a mage, and it must be thanks to Eugen. He knew that he seemed to treat her with special care. They only called him as a backup since they didn't have access to her father. Someone then enters the room, calling out for her. They start screaming and buries their face into her chest, saying that's all because that bastard Friedrich, asking why she has to retire now. Ain says it's not retirement, it's recovery and rehab like she said. They ask if she's really going abroad, and if so they'll follow. Eun-hye restrains them, telling them to calm down, as there's no point in the finance accountant tagging along. Other people also enter, and one of them gives Ain her hat back. He says the transformation function and magic coding are all fixed, but the brim is way too advanced for his level. She says it's on her for lacking the skills, so she'll deal with it, thanking him for fixing it. She then thanks the entire staff team, saying that, thanks to their care she could focus on work worry-free. She tells Eun-hye that even if she didn't call her that day, she still would have gone, and not to beat herself up. And for Hu Im-young, she'll never forget what she owes him, saying, thanks to him that she's still here. She's sorry for dragging them all along with her shortcomings, and with their talents, they'll thrive in better spots with bigger roles. But she'll bust her ass in rehab, and come back as a mage they can be proud of. She's honestly really excited though. Vague as it is, she feels like everything will work out. There's no more agonizing over how to end things. Eugen proved himself, and he promised to make her as capable as her father, meaning her future is guaranteed, so she has no reason not to trust him. We then see her confused. Eugen says that traffic must have been light for her to get here already. She says that she told him clearly that she wanted this to be a secret. Then Sung-hae greets her, saying she's heard much about her. Ain asks why he's yapping about her, as he's meant to keep it on the low. Yujin tells her not to sweat it, as this is his friend, and she's a super reliable person, so it's all good. Sung-hae's surprised that he actually called her a friend, and says that she'll head out first. He asks why so suddenly, and she says that she popped in briefly from work. Then she tells Ain that she won't breathe a word about the heart issue, so not to worry. She says okay, and then Yujin offers to walk her out, but she tells him to go ahead and chat freely. He says that he'll just step out in front to see her off, but Ain grabs his face, asking what they should do with that big mouth of his. She told him that she mentioned to the media that she was recuperating overseas. And he knows that she's in a body that can't use magic. So they need to stop it before it spreads that she's here, as villains will be coming straight for her. He says that Sung-hae's his friend, and she's still reliable. As Sung-hae's leaving, she says maybe growing up with that face toughened her up, and as she leaves, she's greeted by someone outside the door, telling Yujin that a guest has arrived. Ain sighs, saying that the academy must get a ton of visitors, and they should just throw a full-on celebration party. The person walks straight past Sung-hae, and Ain says that she'll be out front, so he can call her when she's done. But then she's confused, asking Yujin why he's making such a sour face. We then hear a man, saying that Ain hiding her face under a hat is such a waste when it's so pretty. She gets pissed, asking who he thinks he is, to be touching her, but then is surprised, as she starts to freeze up. He says that his princess sure is gorgeous, asking how her body is. She says it's fine. She tells her father that she didn't think he would come to a place like this. He says that places like this are exactly where he should go. It's where his precious firstborn is starting fresh, and the academy is run by his proud disciple, asking Yujin if he's right. Yujin stares at him, and Sung-hae says that he seems like he's grown a bit taller. Yujin starts to touch the scars on his neck, as Ui-hyuk says that he knows he met Friedrich, and that guy is still not living up to his age, as he is just wandering around doing useless shit. He wasn't like that when he was a kid though, and it makes him think that his rebellious phase just hit late. He then thanks Yujin, as he heard that he saved Ain's life. While he is proud of her being smart and good, she sometimes acts on impulse, which worries him, and he is glad that Yujin is his disciple, as Yujin is telling himself that he needs to hold it in. He can't let it out, because right now Ain is watching, so he needs to stay calm, and pull himself together, and he can hold back. It's a situation that could have easily happened, and it was one that he was going to face eventually. But he starts to recall how he was murdered by Ui-hyuk, and there wasn't even a single word or thought behind it, as he just gazed at him with cold eyes. For a second, all the throbbing on his neck stops. As Ui-hyuk says it's a shame, he wishes they met under better circumstances than this, as Yujin starts to stretch his hand out towards him. Sung-hae and Ain are surprised, as Ui-hyuk tells him to bring it here. Yujin says he doesn't deserve this, and it's not very adult-like, but he just couldn't hold back. He missed him so much, and he was afraid that he wouldn't want to see him, and he never had the courage to come find him. Then he hopes that he can hold on to him for a little bit. Ui-hyuk smiles, saying that even when he's gotten taller, he's still just a kid on the inside. Sung-hae feels awkward, saying that she's going to leave. Then Ui-hyuk calls out to her. She asks how he knows her, and he says of course he does. She's always worked hard for the citizens' safety, and she's good to Yujin. As his master, he offers his thanks. Sung-hae gets embarrassed, saying that she's almost losing it, and he's on a whole other level compared to Yujin in a completely insane way. Ui-hyuk then brings up Ain, losing her magic. He says that must be why she came to Yujin for help. Something that tough happened, she could have talked to him first. She says that it's not that, she doesn't trust him. But he says that she can trust Yujin, as he is the disciple he trusts the most, and he might even be able to help her more than he would. But he's going to step aside and talk with him for a bit, and then he'd have a parent-teacher conference before leaving her in his care. He tells her to wait for a moment before they both teleport out. He says that he's honestly a little surprised. He ripped out his heart, and chopped it into pieces, and tossed it into a rift between dimensions. So who would have thought that he'd come back alive, and he always exceeded his expectations. He then cuts him into pieces again, asking what price he paid to pull that off. Yujin says that if he's talking about when he fell into the dimensional rift, his decay stopped. But Ui-hyuk cuts him off, saying that he's more curious about something else, asking him why he still doesn't hate him. Yujin says that he saved him the day when he was dying, and every single day he spent with him, he'd begun living for him as his only goal. So how could he ever hate him, and if that's what he wanted, he'd happily die for him again right here. Ui Hyuk raises a drink to his mouth, but puts it aside, saying that no matter how he thinks about it, it has to be him. And if he's still willing to go that far for him, he wants to propose something to him one more time. Yujin asks if it is what he thinks it is, and says he told him 14 years ago that it's kind of way too creepy, and extremely creepy at that. Ui Hyuk agrees, saying that he's already been rejected twice, and if he had to hear it, he'd feel more pathetic. But he's already given up since that day, and he'll settle for the next best thing. He then says this is even more astonishing, asking how he's causing this phenomenon without any magic power. He survived that fatal situation, thanks to this too. Yujin says that it is runeless magic, and he systemized it so even people with no magic power, or even just a tiny bit, can use magic if they work hard, and study. And for his first student, he'll teach Ain this magic, which will help her become a grand mage in the long term. And in the future when aspiring mages look up to her as a grand mage, he'll raise lots and lots of kind, capable mages who appear for the world's sake. This is his dream of protecting people's happy lives, and hopes for the future. With a kind, gentle world full of magic. And if this dream does come true, he won't need to carry out his plan. Ui Hyuk tells him that it's way too vague and fluffy, but he does like it, since it's so him. But no matter what, his plan still doesn't appeal to him, and he understands that from now on he'll leave Ain in his care, and he can teach her well, and raise her into a grand mage. Even if he won't help with his plan, as long as he doesn't get in his way, he'll support his dream too. But it's a shame, as he got his hopes up, and then crushed them. He's the only one who's ever shaken him this much too. Yujin grabs his hands, but doesn't call him master, instead calls him Ain's father, and that expectation that he held for him too, will be poured into her too. Waiting in the office, she's looking at her hat until they both reappear. Ui Hyuk says that they must have kept her waiting, and that they had to talk since it's been a while. She says it wasn't that long. Ui Hyuk then says that it's been about 14 years since she could use magic, asking if that's right. She says that it is, and he tells her that he had a hard time thinking it was good, and that she was risking her life to build up achievements just to meet his expectations. The entire time he was hoping that she would find dreams that she would want to achieve as a mage. She starts to stutter trying to explain it, but he hugs her, saying that before he thought of her as a disciple, he thought of her as his daughter, and no matter what goal she chases, or how hard she works, she should never forget that fact, and he hopes that she finds goals worth pouring her efforts into. She agrees, saying that she'll do her best, while Yujin sits there smiling happily. Ui Hyuk then says that it's time for him to go, telling Yujin to take good care of Ain. He says of course, and we see her super giddy that her dad is still so wholesome. He says he wants to talk about the tuition fees, and starts to show him on his phone. She's confused, asking if he's really taking money. He says of course, she's enrolling into his academy. She says that he was meant to help though, and he made it seem like he would teach for free. He says he prepared a personal, special course just for her, so if he doesn't charge tuition, the other students would think it's unfair. She asks if he's seriously okay in the head, and Ui Hyuk says that it looks like it's pretty cheap compared to other places, so he'll pay for it. She says it's fine, as she's an adult now. She has money from her job, so she'll pay. Yujin agrees, saying that she's all grown up now, and Ui Hyuk asks how she turned out so impressive. We learn before she left, the finance guy says that as she instructed, they sold all the gear, including the suit. They paid for the cancellation fees for the obligations, and set up recurring payments for 5-year donations to the welfare groups they sponsored. And the severance for their staff is a lot, asking if she really has to give this much. Even if the company funds weren't enough, dipping into her personal savings, it would only leave her with a little bit. She says the fees and donations are necessary, so they don't stain their careers, and she has to keep at least this minimum duty to all of them who work so hard for her. While he begins crying, she says it's better to settle money matters cleanly for her and her father's reputation. She was just grateful, thinking that Yujin wasn't the type to demand tuition, but now that she was wrong, she's gonna be broke again. Now that they're outside, Ui Hyuk gets a phone call involving something with the Zodiac. He says he'll go check it out, then tells Yujin that he's sorry, but lunch will have to wait till next time because he needs the dip. Yujin says this too bad, but he'll find a great spot for them to eat together. Ain as well tells him not to worry about it, and to take care getting home. He tells her that she should make sure she takes care of herself as well, and if she needs anything to call him, but he'll see them both later. They wave bye as he teleports away, and Yujin asks why the fuck he would bring his car if he was just going to teleport. Ain is just annoyed that her dad didn't say her name first. Yujin says that now they can go eat lunch by themselves. He asks if she's fine with tteokbokki. She says cheap is fine, and she can't afford anything pricey due to sudden expenses. He says that he's going to buy lunch so not to worry about it, and they can talk over the prep to make her into a grand mage while they eat. While they're inside now, he explains that there was a nice snack bar under the academy, but it closed just 2 weeks after he signed the lease, which kinda sucks because it was so good. He then asks her about her major, but we see he's just terrifying everyone. She says that she was a combat magic major, not that she particularly likes fighting, but the most efficient way to improve magical skill is to go through combat situations that force magic use and judgment to the extreme. Combat magic is perfect for that. He says that's true, as most mages with outstanding skill in handling magic were combat magic majors, or at least minoring in it. And if possible, he wouldn't like to teach her in a dangerous way. But he invented his magic in just such an extreme situation. For now, he will always be by her side, watching over her so they can both study and practice in situations they can control. She asks more about his magic, and about how to practice it, but also how it will turn her into a grand mage. He explains that his magic is a technique that connects his consciousness to all perceived and contacted matter and phenomena, transforming and reconstructing them. Once mastered, you can freely alter not just your own body, but the properties, form, and mass of any touched object. She says that if she hadn't seen it herself, she'd think it was some cult thing. Asking how it's even possible to do it without using mana. He says normal senses won't cut it, as there are prerequisites she needs first. The first is to feel perception beyond perception itself. But also, the scientific understanding of the structure and properties of all the things in the world. Then he shows her all of the books he needs her to learn, as it holds everything in their universe. First, she should memorize every single piece of knowledge in this book perfectly. He says it is just simple memorization, so it shouldn't be that difficult. She goes through all of the titles, saying that this is absurd, and that these are the books that scientists, doctors, and researchers study, and even specialists don't memorize every single thing in here. And sure, she's memorized mana structures by attribute, and magic circuits, but this is outside her field. He says 2 weeks should be plenty, and she asks if he's really saying 14 days. He says that he's sorry, he knows that she wants to jump into real combat practice, but she shouldn't rush the first step. He was around 6 when he first saw these, and it brings back his memories of studying. She says that he's a lunatic, and this is the difference between her dad's proudest disciple and herself. And all over again, she's going to start breaking down. He says it took him about 3 weeks, or maybe a month, but since she is Ui Hyuk's daughter, he figured 2 weeks would be more than enough. She says of course she's the blood of the greatest mage, and even 2 weeks for plain memorization felt too long. Once she realizes what she just said, she wonders what's wrong with her, but Eugen tells her that the enthusiasm is great, but not to rush it. If she diligently follows his planned curriculum step by step, it will take about 27 years, and 7 months to become a grand mage. She says 27 is insane, and he asks what's wrong. She says it's nothing, but it was only her getting her expectations up too high. But also no grand mage has ever reached it in under a century, as even her father took over 100 years. Now that she thinks about it, 27 years is insanely short, and it's not some urgent goal anyways. She asks how long it will take to regain her original level of magic skill. He asks what specifically she's talking about. She says that she was a top-tier sorcerer, or combat mage, and was on the verge of promoting to mystic. Eugen has no idea what they are, and says that he better not show that he doesn't know, but he'll look them up later. He says he was going to do that after she memorized the book, but getting familiar with it in parallel is fine too. She asks what he means, and he says that she's got to be uneasy not being able to use the magic she was good at, but she says that's not really it. He says before mastering his magic along with training her usage, since she needs a means to cast magic without internal mana. He says it's time for him to go get a partner that acts as pseudo mana. He explains to her that about 14 years ago he went to another dimension. His condition was bad from an accident at the time, and he was drifting through dimensional rifts on the brink of death, and drawing inspiration from the properties of its native creatures. He says that the native creatures of that dimension are fairies, at least classification-wise. Now he's going to open a gate to the fairy world, asking if she remembers his warnings. She says of course she won't let go of the rope, fall asleep, and will only look ahead. He says this is good, and starts to sigh. As the shape of his neck starts to form out, he uses his magic, opening a dimensional gate to the fairy realm using his code as the medium. She says it's ridiculous every time she sees his magic. But his magic being manaless is secondary to the fact that a dimensional gate magic requires dozens of high intellect, high mana mages pouring in national budget level resources just to open it for a few minutes. But he can do it at will. The more she learns, the more distant it feels. He tells her to hold on to this rope tightly, and to stay calm as it will be fine. She says for her to become a grand mage her magic needs to be better than his. She asks him if it'll be fine if she just says his name. He says of course, as he's super tight with the locals, and the coat he actually uses is a gift from there. He's sorry for sending her in alone when it's got to be scary, but he can't help as he needs to keep the gate open. She says in that case she'll be quick as she jumps straight into it holding on to the rope. He says she sure does have no fear. Off on another rooftop we see Isak saying it looks like he's up to something shady again. Then he mentions how Aine got taken down by that monster, and fled overseas, and shut down her company out of fear. As well as Friedrich losing. He just doesn't think it's true, and it has to be lies. No matter how skilled the monster is, there's no way he would have survived against Friedrich. And catching him will avenge his humiliation from last time, and clear up his inferiority complex about that woman. One of his men says that he's not even wanted by the association, or police yet, and that this is assaulting an innocent person. Isak asks what the hell he's talking about, and if he really has to explain it again. They haven't faced him so they don't get it. It's not just that he looks horrifying, but that he is just a threat to the world by existing. And that horrific phenomenon that he calls magic is a revolting sensation of something that shouldn't exist in this world right in front of them. He's haunted by those memories to the point he can't sleep. And that's why they need to take them down so normal civilians don't suffer the same fate he did. Somebody else says that if he really took down Aine and Friedrich, he is not somebody they could handle. Isak says they're getting cold feet, just from some rumors. But also they got bodied by Aine because they charged her head on. But now, with a surprise attack, full prep and experience, along with intel on the opponent, there's always a chance even against a superior mage. He calls up some guy named Sungdi asking if he's got the anti-regenerative counter ready as he invested a ton into him. He tells him not to worry as it's a spell designed to capture a regenerative beast even slice into 100 pieces, let alone regeneration via human magic. Isak says he's going to trust him, telling everybody to cast their spells, and not to forget their positions and roles. If they clean up Hyuk's mistake, it'll boost the Academy's standing, and the Alliance big time too. But also, that this is nothing but payback. Meanwhile, Aine looks around, asking how the hell he could call these fairies, and understands now why he was so vague. As in the first place, these aren't fairies, and nor is this an actual realm. Aine reminds herself to stay calm, as these organisms are filling up every inch of the space. While there isn't too much pressure, and it doesn't seem to hinder her breathing, she just needs to stay calm, and remind herself to never let go of the rope, as it's her only connection between the world she came from, and this one. She says she should have just tied it to her wrist. Now all she has to do is pull herself together, and keep going, because luckily she can still move. While the texture is bizarre, it isn't stopping her. As she walks through it, she says it feels like jelly. As she keeps breathing more and more, she says the more she breathes the more nauseous she feels, and her head's getting hazy. She wonders why she wasn't warned beforehand about the conditions in the environment, and it must be because he's fine with it, and he thinks it's easy for everyone else. These things that look like living beings don't actually seem actively harmful, but they keep muttering something that sounds like voices, and it's really unsettling. She says even if they were to act out, and threaten her, she has no way to defend herself. She has no choice but to keep moving forward until she finds the one that can communicate, just like Eugen mentioned. Her head feels like it's going to explode from overthinking, and then she starts to realize she doesn't know which way forward even is. Her brain starts to shut down, and she says she was told not to fall asleep, but her body feels like it's melting as her senses fade. She can't help but grow sleepier, and sleepier, until she calls out Eugen's name. On the outside, Eugen keeps the gate open, and he's laughing, saying that this is fun while watching a YouTube video. He says if he made promotional videos that were entertaining for the Academy, and had people watch them, it would be nice. It's easy to laugh while watching, but finding humor that makes others laugh is hard. Since Aine is young, she should know the current trends. While he's talking, there's an explosion on the back of his skull, blowing it open. His hand comes off the portal, but he quickly puts it back, saying that was close. He asks what the deal was with the sudden attack out of nowhere. Isak follows up by hitting him straight in the back, and asks if he's been well. He says he's been losing sleep thinking about him, and he's planning on finally sleeping soundly starting tonight. The other men are scared now. At first they thought he was just overreacting, but now they see it up close. There's a chilling unease that scratches at every nerve they have, and this is clearly a monster that must be erased from this world. Eugen recognizes him as Isak, but wonders why he's losing sleep over him, as he finds that uncomfortable to even think about. He thought the misunderstanding was cleared up, so why is he acting like this? He remembers something, as we get a flashback to him telling Hyuk that he doesn't understand when he was a kid. He asks if the approval procedure for using such useful and efficient magic really needs to be this complicated and troublesome. If regulations are this strict, research and inventions that help the world will be delayed far too much. Hyuk says that is a difficult problem. Spells that can have a massive impact on the world, like dimensional travel, or summoning gates, for instance, are useful, since if such magic was used freely without the approval of the union that manages mages worldwide, it would certainly help resolve dangerous situations, and accelerate magical progress. However, when it comes to the malicious intentions of humans not bound by regulation, or management, there is no bottom. That's why to wield magic for good, one must possess equivalent authority, and earn the recognition of many people. He tells him he'll be fine since he has his guarantee as an archmage, but there may come a time where he can't receive his help. They should build up his reputation, and authority, so everybody can trust him, and feel at ease. Yujin realizes that Yisak must have used dimensional magic to find him without the union's permission. Instead of telling him, he says he'll accept the appropriate punishment for his actions later, but right now it would be very problematic if he stopped this spell. Yisak signals Sungti to start, as he begins using his two-ring magic. Yujin tells him to give him a moment so he can explain, but they charge straight in. An attack grazes his back, and he says it looks like Yisak is genuinely furious. He really is a man with a strong law-abiding spirit, but he can't think right now. Yujin tells him to calm down for a second. His hand gets cut off, and he says they really need to listen to what he has to say. But mages these days sure are violent, and he thinks they know he won't get hurt, but still. He starts with his regeneration, but sees that it's been nullified, as his hand is not regrowing. Yisak asks if he's at a loss, saying that he surely can't keep his head on straight now. It's a recovery blocking spell learned from Nordic monster hunters by one of his proud disciples. It's advanced magic that blocks everything from organic tissue recovery via mana, to self-repair of inorganic matter. His disgusting regeneration magic won't function anymore. Yujin is impressed, saying that it's a lower-tier version of the restoration blocker his master used on him during their private meeting earlier. Even though the structure is simple, and the performance is lower, it's well organized. Now anybody could use it. But he locks back in, saying this isn't the time to be impressed. Normally he could tear through this with some soft magic, but right now most of his brain's processing power is allocated to maintaining the portal. If he stops the spell, or can't use his hands, Ain's connection to the world will be severed. If that happens, it'll get very messy. He tells Yisak it's not for his own safety, but he needs to stop. Yisak yells, telling them all to attack as they swarm him. He says Yujin is a monster that won't die even if they chop it to pieces. So not to hesitate, and crush him with maximum firepower. As they close the gap, Yujin yells for them to wait a moment, saying his head and hands are strictly off limits. They cut off his arm, and start attacking both his head and his other shoulder. He yells for them to stop, as massive dust forms from the top of the building. Back to Ain inside the dimension. She's hearing a voice over and over, until it yells telling her to wake up. When she does, she hears a fairy saying that she's finally regained consciousness, which is a relief. The fairy had to adjust her brain without permission to force adaptation. If she loses consciousness in this world without the adaptation procedure, she'll melt into the space. That rope too is something she almost let go of, and it knows she needs it to return. The fairy says they called out to her for quite a while, but she ignored them without responding, almost making them feel hurt. To think she was nothing more than a lost child who drifted here without any prep. Ain wonders if this is one of the kingdom's residents. That means, the murmuring residents earlier really were them talking to her. Even though they were right beside her, they were intelligent beings capable of communication. She says she didn't come here by mistake. Her teacher Yujin helped her cross over to this world, and she was told that if she came here, she could get help from his friends. Everyone starts saying Yujin's name, saying they can kind of smell him on her. Their voices get louder and louder. She wonders if something is wrong, because their reactions are off. They start to screech, before picking her up, saying they need to take her, and they fly away. She doesn't know how she's meant to interpret this reaction. They ask what she said earlier, and if she called them Yujin's friends. She is greatly mistaken. If she's experienced him, she couldn't possibly not know that he is there, but they don't finish what they are saying, since they decide she'll hear it directly, since they've arrived now. They tell her to show respect, and offer her greetings to the lord of this place, the queen, and the mother. Ain is certain now that Eugen has no fucking idea what a fairy should look like, as it's just a giant eye peering down at her. Back to reality. Sunti says that his magic is definitely working normally, and he's blocking the regeneration of the severed parts. That disgusting amalgamation is not something he knows how to respond to either. He's not even sure if the neutralization is actually progressing, or not, because Eugen is just an arm, and a little bit of a head now. Eugen tells Ain this is awkward. He managed to protect his head, and arms somehow, but maintaining the portal in this state is too exhausting. He tells Ain he's sorry, but she needs to hurry up. He tells his men that there's nothing to hesitate about, asking if they can't see how creepy he is. That hideous shape can't possibly be a normal state. There's also that weird hole, he doesn't know what it is, but the fact that it's shrinking bit by bit is proof that that bastard is taking damage. Yi Sok sighs, saying that he'll be the one to finish it off, asking Eugen if he can hear him. He just stood there dumbfounded without landing a single counterattack, leaving him with that grotesque shape, only guarding that suspicious hole. He doesn't even know what it is, nor does he want to. It has to be some evil, horrific spell he's prepping. Eugen looks at him, and Yi Sok says that if it weren't something that important, there'd be no reason to defend it all the way to that sorry state without resisting, even once with that vicious magic transformation he used on him before. He has no idea how much anxiety he's caused the citizens, as everyone knows how evil he is. They'll completely neutralize him, and drag him before the Alliance's tribunal. Eugen calls out to him in a calm voice, saying he won't make any excuses. He recognizes his mistakes, and he'll faithfully accept the punishment he deserves. So if he just gives him a little time, he'll get it out right now without delay. Yi Sok asks what he's getting out, and swings, striking him, saying that he shouldn't try any funny business, and with this it's over. No matter what magic he uses after being tore up this much, it won't matter. He starts to wrap around the weapon, and asks what the hell is going on, as just a moment ago he was slicing him cleanly. Eugen says he's sorry to the struggling Dean, but even if he has to push himself just a little, he needs to hold on as he continues to be more and more warped. The fairy asks Ain if Eugen sent her here. She says it's bigger than any giant magic creature she's ever seen by several times over, and the queen asks if she is his blood kin. Ain doesn't know why she said that, or how she even got that idea, but says no, she's just a disciple. The queen says that is why the scent of Eugen is so strong on her, and that he's ultimately decided to go that route. Then mentions how she said Eugen called them friends, and she didn't think that's how he thought of them. Ain can't read their expressions, and she says this doesn't feel like a friendly vibe at all, and that clueless human must have messed something up without realizing it, and got their disdain. Now she's stuck in this dangerous place alone. The queen says she'll clear up the misunderstanding. Eugen is their one, and only savior in the entire world. The feelings towards the savior who risked his life to save their world aren't just friendship, they're immeasurable gratitude, and awe. If she's Eugen's disciple, she's a most precious guest to them, and she will officially welcome her here. The other fairies tell her to treat this as her home. She thanks them. One of them says that since he didn't come with her, he must be busy. Asking if he is doing well. She says that Eugen is doing well. They mention how if they knew he was going to send her, they would have treated her with the utmost hospitality from the start. She says their being so overly kind is kind of burdensome, and she wonders what the hell he helped him with to get treated like royalty. The queen says she'll hear her business out, wanting to know what brings her here. Ain says that due to various circumstances, she can't use her magic anymore, and she heard that if she mentioned she was sent here by Eugen, she could get help using magic. Queen says that trick Eugen came up with, and wielded inspired by their traits is something that will surely work, and she will help by letting one of the children join her in the world she came from. With Eugen's help alongside, it'll be a great aid in solving the problems she's facing. Ain thanks her, and all the fairies start saying that they'll be the one to go with her trying to earn her favor. She laughs because Eugen's a total idol here, and it feels like they want to see Eugen more than help her, which is a little hurtful, but she finds it really endearing. She says that these are the fairies that served as the motif for his magic, but every instance of magic he used was rare, and powerful, and they all look super strong as is, and they'll be pretty damn useful until she gets her magic back. While they don't look the most appealing, if she can use magic again she can handle it no problem. She goes to pick one of the fairies, and Eugen talks to her through the rope screaming saying that there's big trouble, and she needs to hurry back. She asks why the hell he sent just his eyes and mouth, and he says he was watching videos while keeping the gate open, and everybody starts to crowd around realizing it's Eugen. One of them asks if he's still wearing the clothes he gave him, and Eugen says of course he wears the jacket all the time, and they tell him to show his face already. He says he's sorry for contacting them after so long, and he should have come in person, but he needs to rush back with Ain. Ain asks him what he means right now, since they haven't picked who to take yet. The Queen says there's no need, handing her a specific one saying to take this child. Ain asks which one before it burrows into her skull. She starts to freak the hell out, and Eugen says that the greetings will have to wait, and they all say bye as he drags her away. They start asking the Queen why she did that, as she didn't have to go that far. The Queen says she respects Eugen's choice, and it doesn't seem like one that would make sense by even human standards, but because Eugen is the kind of person they need Ain to be a pillar of support they can both rely on. She starts screaming, but in the real world so does Sungdi. He starts freaking out because his hand is warping, and Yi-seok says there's no need to panic, but there's no wonder he just took it all without fighting back. Since there he'll cut magic wore off ages ago, no attack magic can stop him anymore, even though his men couldn't even catch Ain. He didn't think they'd be this hopeless, but before being a mage he doesn't even know if this bastard is human anymore, and against an enemy they can't handle all of his disciples are gonna die because of his inferiority complex. More men run in saying that things don't seem to be going smoothly, and they start freaking out asking what the fuck that thing is. Yi-seok says something they never should have touched to begin with, that he'll be buying time so they can pull all of the kids off as he's gonna go for some two-will magic. Yi-seok says that he'll deal with the aftermath, and leaps up Eugen's stick figure, ripping the kids out of him. He says that he's sorry that he forced them to deal with his mess as they prepare the spell. He cuts away the last one saying that he's finally ready, and tells everybody to drop to the floor, and put up shields. He knows Eugen won't die from this, but at least he can try to buy some time. As he goes to use the magic, Ain flies out from the hole with Eugen carrying her. She screams, and says that if he was going to send her to such a ridiculous place he should have explained it properly. Eugen apologizes now that he's back to himself, saying that she must have been super confused in an unfamiliar environment. She says that his current state is even more freakish, asking what happened that made him in such a rush. Yi-seok starts to put his magical way, confused, asking why she popped out from there. She's just as surprised to see him. And Yi-seok says that she was meant to be overseas, so why is she here with Eugen? She says that's her question, wanting to know what he's doing here. Eugen says that he should have explained it properly to Yi-seok, but Ain lost her magic so she can't use it anymore, so he was going to teach her his magic that doesn't need mana, and enrolled her as one of his academy students to proceed with the teaching. And since she wanted to use magic again as soon as possible, so he sent her to ask for help from the fairies in another dimension where he used to live, but he forgot that dimensional magic is regulated magic management. But he starts to pass out since he pushed himself too hard, and he falls to the floor. Cops start to pull up to his building. And Sung-hae bursts through the door calling out for Eugen, saying that she got a report of a huge disturbance. She sees him sleeping, asking what's going on, and Ain starts to get frustrated because even more people know that she's here, and we see the little fairy burrowed in her skull. Ain asks if he's finally up, and then tells him to go handle the situation over there somehow, as it's been noisy for a while because of what happened. He spots Sung-hae asking Ain if she can wait for a moment. She says of course, and when he walks over, Yi-seok says that it's all his intuition, as a mage's senses are different, and he has no actual evidence. Sung-hae asks Eugen if he's okay since they were here harassing him, but he says that he'll turn himself in. They're both just confused, asking for what. He says that they came together to catch him for the unauthorized use of the Dimension Gate regulatory management spell, and he was too reckless, so he'll accept whatever punishment they give him. He looks up wondering if they're going to handcuff him or not. Later, Sung-hae is scolding them, saying that no matter how unforgettable his appearance may be, to gather this many people like this, and use lethal magic that could have hurt everybody else in the neighborhood, she doesn't find it acceptable. It's a good thing that Eugen is someone who doesn't get hurt easily, and thanks to the Magic Alliance sanctions, Korean law must look like a joke to them. But this is aggravated assault, and attempted murder. Yi-seok says that she knows just as well as they do, that he's not even a human at this point. As a combat mage, he already recognized the danger that the monster possesses, and wanted to eliminate it before innocent people got hurt, so what's wrong with that? And she surely has something like a detective's intuition, as even if he's acting harmless around her all this time, when she first saw him, she couldn't help but feel prejudice towards him too. Of course that's the truth, because her and her men fired shot after shot into him while completely terrified. Eugen just thought they were exhausted, and saw him as a criminal, and he even brought them coffee. Since he was turning in a most wanted fugitive, he wanted to make a good impression, and Sung-hae reflects on that memory, regretfully, and says he shouldn't change the subject. Then she asks Eugen what he wants to do, as if he just admits to being the victim they'll arrest them on the spot. He thinks about it, wondering if it's really just because of his face that they did all this, and he starts to laugh to himself, and they get a little creeped out wondering what's wrong. He says that he's sorry, but it's his first time experiencing something like this. Definitely isn't, but that's okay, and he says that it's really awkward so they can just let them go. Sung-hae's confused. Yujin says that he did some things that could cause misunderstandings all while being in Yi-seok's front yard, and it might make him feel threatened in various ways, but he didn't think that his appearance dissatisfied him this much, and he should think of it easy, and not feel threatened as Yi-seok's appearance is also just as bad as his, and that they're not transferring just because of a teacher's looks, and he dresses stylish enough anyway so he should have some confidence in himself that his students won't discriminate against him being ugly. Yi-seok asks what the fuck is wrong with this guy, and Yujin hands him his phone saying he wants to exchange contacts as there were all sorts of misunderstandings. But it's also fate that they're together like this, and they can stay in touch as colleagues in the same field. The academies aren't far apart, and they can have clan meals, grab coffee, and exchange student education tips with one another. Yi-seok starts crying, staring at Sung-hae, and she laughs at him saying that he's the one who did this to himself. Then some of Yi-seok's men start talking to Ain, and are blatantly judging her for the fact that she can't use magic anymore. They're bringing up how she was meant to be overseas after the battle with Friedrich, yet she's standing before them all now. But they know that she probably didn't even fight Friedrich, and instead she challenged Yujin, and because of how bad she got body she can't even use magic. They don't know what he's done to her, or what threats she's faced here so far, but they can tell that she's in a pretty bad spot. They then ask what kind of magic Yujin even teaches, as leaving aside his suspicious magic he should have taught her manners properly. And they mention that if it spreads that she can't use magic anymore, and Ain yells for Yujin saying that they are interested in enrolling in the academy. They get scared, and Yujin gets excited. They eventually all leave as we see Ain staring at them from the rooftop, and she says that she knows they won't stay quiet about it from now on. All sorts of people are going to gather, and she doesn't know if she can handle it just by relying on Yujin, as the problems are going to keep piling up one after the other. Yujin says that he's low-key tired, and a lot has happened today. He was originally going to tell her about their preparations after she got back from the fairy realm, but he didn't get the chance. Frustrated about the situation, she turns, and grabs him by the jaw, telling him to shut the hell up. He's just spreading the rumors at this point that she can't use magic. She already told him that she didn't want anybody to know. Even the first time she came here he told Sung-hae, and now it's spread to Yi-seok, and all of his students, or guards, not sure which. Yujin says that if he didn't explain the situation properly Yi-seok might misunderstand, and he just got friendly with him so he'll definitely keep it a secret. Ain says no matter the misunderstandings he shouldn't have cleared it up. Secrets need to stay secret, instead of exposing it. Then reminds him that she destroyed all of his disciples the last time she was there, so they hold grudges. Yujin asks if it's that big of a deal. She says that she really doesn't know either, but she's tired so she wants to head out for now. She'll stop by somewhere tomorrow morning so she'll come for lunch. He says sure, telling her he'll see her tomorrow, and decides that he'll tell her then about the thing the fairy queen gave her. He starts picking up his jacket, saying that it was a pretty long day to be honest, since he even got to meet Ui-hyuk again, but he also made a new friend that he wants to keep in touch with too. Now all that's left is to properly prepare the academy operations, and Ain's classes so that the world he loves is filled with kind mages spreading gentle magic. From tomorrow onwards he'll make sure that he teaches her properly, but she's still just annoyed, saying that it all became a mess because of him, and she didn't know things could go this wrong. Back to the people who were healing Friedrich, they ask when they'll be sent home. As they got dragged out of nowhere, and even finished Friedrich's surgery is ordered, so there's nothing left for them to do here. One of them says that she hasn't heard anything either, and the dude says that he knows that she's close with Ui-hyuk, and surely she can just reach out to get help. We hear Friedrich on the phone asking somebody what the hell they made. Putting aside the ridiculous magic, meeting someone that shouldn't exist in his world gave him chills. Then reminds him when they went to assassinate the great demon king together. As they walk past the dude, Friedrich literally just disintegrates him on the spot. He thinks that even the overwhelming pressure back then from the demon king wasn't as unpleasant as the thing he created. The woman that the guy was begging says that he doesn't appreciate how rare medical mages are, and that it's not easy to find something this useful. This was the guy who was saying that as a person before being a doctor he didn't know if it was right to save Friedrich, and Friedrich remembers this, and says that's why he got rid of him, because of his annoying mouth. Shari tells the other girl that she'll take her home, and then Friedrich goes back to talking on the phone, and it turns out he's talking to Ui-hyuk, confirming that that's actually his disciple. Ui-hyuk says of course it's his proudest and most outstanding disciple, one that he's never had before, and won't have again. He was just coming back from meeting him himself, and he understands now why he was so flustered. As he was sustaining his life in a highly ingenious way, and existing in this world in a state that he shouldn't, and he's forcibly kept alive in a way separate from demon arts or necromancy. Friedrich asks what's the downside to it being forcibly kept, and Hyuk says for normal people humans just being near him induces horror, disgust, and dry heaving, but battle-hardened mages like them are likely to unconsciously unleash lethal spells at the moment they encounter him as a defense mechanism. The more hostility, the deeper the enmity persists, and the more that undeniable existence will cloud judgment, and stimulate their survival instincts. Friedrich says at that point he's just a cursed monster freak, but he was a pretty fresh stimulus. Thanks to him he fixed some of his old habits, and it even sparked ideas that he never imagined before, asking Hyuk what he thinks about it. Telling him to look forward to his declaration of war that is soon to come, as it'll be a new era that all mages, and even non-mage, will ever forget. He goes to say more, but Hyuk hangs up, and Shaori says that it's time to begin. Friedrich says that he's always acting nice and generous to others, but he's always rude as hell to him, and it must be because he never treated him like a senior back in the day. Shaori tells him to shut up as she's having a hard enough time concentrating as it is, and we see her opening up portals for all the Zodiac members. Friedrich says that he gets it, everyone's busy with their assigned roles, but he has a message that must be delivered in person. To smash that suffocating model that Hyuk has built so far for mages, he wants to create a world where a mage is the natural tool of domination. He's prepared to flip the world to the point where even the unkillable Hyuk can't lift a finger. But recently he had a fresh experience, and paid a heavy price, and learned the world has already changed. He realized how pathetic his goals and prep was all this time, and he thought he could dream bigger and use bolder means, but now he can. Due to the lesson he has recently learned, it's time to go kill Hyuk first. If you've watched till the end, comment, sneeze, to let me know. Thanks to my Patreon members. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.